In a grand hall packed with worshippers, lined up like they were waiting for the concert of a lifetime, the man sitting on the throne quietly asked himself a single question. Is being a god actually better than being human? If you were just some regular person, you'd probably wonder the same thing. But if you asked him, he's only got one answer. Being a god feels absolutely incredible. This guy was posted up on a massive throne, casually scratching his cheek while lost in thought. He is Yuanzi, the incarnation of a celestial being in the world of gods. Yuanzi tilted his head down slightly, locking his eyes forward with unwavering focus. His brow furrowed. His mismatched eyes, two completely different, piercing colors, stared coldly at the spot where countless priests were kneeling. They worshipped him like he was the only character that mattered. Some bowed low. Others were lost in deep prayer. These were his followers, Yuanzi's ride or dies, who gave him respect, reverence, and straight-up unconditional love. In his past life, this man was cracked. Through sheer, raw power alone, he bent millions to his will. 2 servants stood by his side, ready to run errands 24/7. Meanwhile, his believers followed him without a hint of fear, even if it meant marching straight into war and death. He conquered lands from west to east, north to south. Nobody escaped the shadow of his influence. The monsters, the goblin clans, even the succubi who tried to stop him. They all failed miserably. They didn't just lose, they never made it back home. One day, while walking through a vast and silent hall, he started thinking about how he could pull off a peaceful retirement. He figured maybe, just maybe, it was time to let go of the power. But out of nowhere, something happened that he never imagined would go down. He suddenly froze. A brutal stiffness crept up his legs. It was followed by a sharp, tearing pain, a sensation no incarnation of an archangel should ever feel. His connection to the supreme god started flickering, weakening, and with it, his power rapidly drained away, like someone had just pulled the plug. He lunged for the wall, grabbing it for support. He bit his lip until it nearly bled, his face twisting from the intensity of the agony. Still clutching his aching body, he whispered to himself, "This is the worst thing that's ever happened in my entire life. How did I not catch this sooner? Why is this happening to me?" Yuanzi's eyes suddenly went pale. His whole body turned ice cold. He desperately tried to pinpoint when this weird feeling started. Over and over he asked himself, "Is there any way to get my lost strength back?" But no matter how deep he searched, no answer came. Years passed, and the silence remained. Slowly, a terrifying possibility began to creep into his mind. If the demons found out his true condition, or worse, if the succubi discovered it, hordes of monsters would absolutely storm the palace. At that thought, Yuanzi froze. It wasn't just about his life anymore. It was the lives of his people that were now in serious danger. And then, there was the internal threat. If his disciples learned he was fading, some would definitely take advantage of his weakness. Suddenly, the image of one of his disciples with pink hair flashed in his mind. He could clearly hear her voice echoing in his memory. "Master, this disciple of yours is stronger than you now. You'll never be able to beat me, Megan." Immediately after, another image took hold. A disciple with green hair speaking with a voice like ice. "Master, looks like your reign has hit its expiration date." The weight of those thoughts forced Yuanzi to sit down. His chest felt heavy. He realized with a sinking heart that he no longer had the strength to fight or even discipline his own students. A moment later, he scratched his face as it hit him. He had 5 disciples, and all of them were straight up gorgeous. An image formed in his mind of his disciples hugging him, their faces full of concern for his condition. But he quickly snapped out of it. He shook his hands, forcing himself awake from the fantasy. That can't happen. He's the master, and they're his disciples. That boundary must never be crossed. Outside, a massive lightning bolt suddenly split the sky. Following the thunder, a heavy rain began to pour, as if the world was being swallowed whole. Among the crowd of people rushing for cover, a man dressed in long, inconspicuous robes walked quietly down the street. It was Yuanzi. As he walked, he told himself firmly, to hide his true condition and remain the kingdom's hope, he could not let a single soul find out about his problem. To avoid raising his disciples' suspicions, he headed to a small, secluded shop. Inside, a female shopkeeper was quietly smoking a cigarette. She had the look of someone who was used to dealing with the world's darkest secrets and most dangerous people. It went completely against Yuanzi's nature to be in a place like this. This wasn't the kind of spot a celestial being should ever visit. But he had no other choice. He cautiously approached the shopkeeper. Before speaking, He glanced nervously around the room, anxiety written all over his face. In a low, strained voice, he asked, "Do you have anything like that kind of potion?" The beautiful young woman smiled. She rested her cheek on her left hand, clearly amused by the behavior of the man in front of her. Then, she answered in a tone thick with mystery, "How very mysterious you are, my dear customer. What kind of potion are you looking for, exactly?" In a spacious bathhouse, there's a girl leaning against the wall. She's got this gentle face, sharp pointed ears, and a slight smirk on her lips. Someone's gripping both her hands, holding her down tight so she can't move. This pink-haired menace is Yuanzi's eldest disciple. Standing in front of her is a blue-haired woman with an absolute unit of a frame, tall and imposing. She's the one restraining pink hair to keep her from escaping. This is Yuanzi's second disciple. This woman is known as a continental mage advisor for the Temple of Light, famous for her sharp mind and strict discipline. Basically, she's not the one to mess with. While these two are going at it, there's another girl chilling on the sidelines, quietly watching their nonsense unfold. A few seconds pass, then the girl lies down on the floor and rests her head on top of her hands. There's worry written all over her face as she speaks. She says their master Yuanzi has been missing for 2 whole days, but these two are still bickering like it's a Tuesday, completely unbothered and not even remotely worried about their master. This girl is Tu Fuling, the third disciple, who's literally called the Little Princess of Hidden Island. After a beat, Tu Fuling grabs her face and declares she absolutely cannot watch her 2 senior sisters continue this poolside throwdown any longer. But in an instant, a hand suddenly approaches her. Her eyes go wide with shock when she hears a voice asking what she's so worried about. Right after that, a green-haired girl suddenly hugs her from behind while cheerfully asking Tu Fuling if she enjoyed the surprise sneak attack from her back. She presses down even harder on Tu Fuling from behind, making the girl's face turn completely red. The green-haired woman just smiles, clearly living for this teasing energy. This absolute menace is none other than Yuanzi's 4th disciple, better known as the Queen of the Fairy Forest. Before long, the two of them catch the attention of the women scrapping it out in the swimming pool. The first and second disciples whip their heads toward the 2 girls. You can see from their faces they are not happy about this interruption. Then the second disciple stares dead serious, eyes sharp as knives, asking the 2 brats if they've got nothing better to do than gossip right in front of them. The 2 girls immediately bolt and hug a woman standing off to the side, the 4th disciple. The third disciple's face is flushed red, eyes closed, saying their senior sister is scary as hell. Even Tu Fulings on the verge of tears, begging their 4th senior sister to save them from their 1st and 2nd senior sisters. While the 2 cling to the 4th disciple's waist, she smiles and speaks calmly. She tells them not to worry. The 1st and 2nd senior sisters are just trying to scare them. They're actually nice, so there's nothing to fear. This woman is none other than the 4th disciple, master of the Oak Grove. A moment later, the 2nd disciple leans in close to the 1st disciple's ear and speaks softly. She says they've both noticed that their master seems to be avoiding them, whether intentionally or not. But whatever the reason, they need to do something about it. 2 days have passed since Yuanzi disappeared, and right now things are getting way more suspicious. Meanwhile, on the other side, the 4th disciple is sprinting while carrying the 2 girls, saying the 2 senior sisters are busy so they better bounce ASAP. Suddenly, the 1st disciple's eyes sharpen. She playfully flicks the 2nd disciple and asks if she had anything to do with their master's disappearance. Then she quickly pinches the 2nd disciple's cheek and says seriously, "If that's the case, did she also notice that something weird has been going on with their master these past few days?" After the 1st disciple says that, she shoves the 2nd disciple hard. This makes her just straight up fall into the swimming pool. The 1st disciple pins herself on top of the 2nd disciple, holding her down tight, then asks, if she already knew something was going on with their master, why didn't she even think that maybe he was going through something? It's obvious something's off, isn't it? The 2nd disciple bites her lip and says firmly that she had nothing to do with their master's disappearance. She insists she doesn't know what their master's real problem is either. But the 1st disciple isn't letting this go. While still gripping the 2nd disciple's hands and keeping her from moving, she asks again, if she already noticed their master acting strange, why didn't she immediately do something to help him? And if she really wants to know where master is, why doesn't she go look for him herself? After saying that, she slowly moves to the edge of the pool and climbs out of the bath. But before she fully leaves, she turns back to the 2nd disciple and says coldly, does she really think she's going to find any clues about master's whereabouts from her? She also tells her to stop asking her about this, and asks if that's clear. The second disciple sits up slightly while watching the first disciple walk away. In her mind, she can't help but wonder whether the first disciple truly knows nothing about their master's location, or if the rumors spreading about her are actually true. Meanwhile, as the first disciple walks, the question keeps nagging at her mind over and over. How is she actually supposed to find out where their master really is? After that, she grabs her own cheek and suddenly grins like a total menace, like she's cooking up something absolutely unhinged. She mutters in her mind, "Master, please don't blame me, because if anyone's at fault here, it's you. Because of your carelessness, you didn't realize your weakness was slowly being exposed." After thinking that, she smiles slightly and licks her lips, while telling herself that their master's constant avoidance of them is clear proof of his weakness. Then suddenly, a leash-like rope appears in her hand, wrapped in the dark energy of dark magic. Literally a dog leash vibe. The first disciple mutters in her mind, "Master, your disciple is now more powerful than you. Or maybe it's reached the point where you can't even beat me anymore. As long as I avoid the other disciples, I'll be able to catch you tonight." The first disciple's face suddenly flushes red as she grips the rope she'll use to capture her master. She whispers in her mind that their master's happy days are almost over, because what happens next depends entirely on her desires. That same night from the sky, Yuanzi plummets down fast. He can barely control his own power. While falling, he's absolutely furious at himself because he can't suppress his magic power. A moment later, he crashes straight into the ground. He clutches his side, feeling intense pain throughout his entire body. He gets even more pissed at himself because he can't even perform a simple levitation spell. After that, he quickly stands up and pats down his pockets, frantically searching for where he put the magic potion he bought. When he gets it, he breathes a sigh of relief and feels slightly happy seeing the bottle didn't break. That bottle is a customized transformation potion. Yuanzi holds it up and examines it carefully while gently shaking it. In his mind, he thinks about how most people don't even notice or buy this type of magic potion. Only a few want to change their appearance and hide in distant places. But even so, he has no other choice given his current condition. After a few hours, he forces himself to walk back to his kingdom. While walking, his body struggles hard. He keeps telling himself in his mind that as long as he drinks the magic potion at the right time, he can immediately change his appearance before anyone finds out about the problem he's facing. But he can't help asking himself, once he does that, will he completely abandon his true self? Still, he also thinks that at least he has 5 beautiful disciples who he believes will take care of him in times of crisis. He mutters in his mind that as long as he can hide his problem and stay under the protection of his disciples as their master, his life will still be fine. But when the time comes that the problem gets worse and they discover the truth about him, they'll definitely be pissed, and things won't end well. Before he fully enters his kingdom, he suddenly turns pale, and his face breaks out in a cold sweat. He's thinking about what he'll say to his disciples when they see him in that condition. A moment later, he just closes his eyes and slowly pushes the door open. He enters while telling himself he'll just go through the back of the castle so no one sees him. But unexpectedly, the first disciple is already there, like she's been waiting for his arrival. Her voice is cheerful but with a hint of something off when she speaks. "Where have you been, master? Welcome back." When Yuanzi sees her, his eyes widen in complete shock. He didn't expect that his plan to go through the back of the castle was actually not a good idea at all. The first disciple slowly lifted her clothes, and with a seductive smile, asked her master where he'd been and why he disappeared for 2 whole days. Then she softly said, "Welcome back, master. Did you enjoy my gift?" After saying that, she smiled like an absolute menace, while in her mind she was confirming her suspicion that her master had snuck in through the back of the castle. Yuanzi quickly covered his eyes, his face turning bright red, and yelled at his disciple asking what the hell she was doing. He told her to get decent because he wasn't seeing anything anyway. At those words, the first disciple just smirked to herself. While Yuanzi had his back turned, clearly annoyed at what just went down, he didn't notice his first disciple slowly creeping up behind him. The girl said softly, "Master, I've been waiting so long for you to come back." The first disciple leaned in close to his ear, took a deep breath, and slowly whispered while asking with fake concern, "Master, where have you been? And where did you go these past few days?" Yuanzi glanced at her, his face still flushed, and answered that he just went to some remote place to handle some business. But in an instant, the first disciple managed to wrap the polar collar she was holding around her master's neck. Yuanzi was completely caught off guard by the sudden move. While doing this, the girl said she missed her master so much. In the next moment, She pulled the chain attached to the collar. This made Yuanzi feel uneasy. He didn't expect his first disciple to pull such a cracked move. The girl glanced at him slightly and said, "Master, you can never escape from me now." At those words, Yuanzi's eyes suddenly went dark. He felt a clear sense of danger to himself. He never thought his first disciple's obsession would reach this level of unhinged. He angrily said, "What are you doing? Have you become this disrespectful to me? I just got back home and this is how you greet me? Is this what I taught you? To be disrespectful?" Instead of backing off, the first disciple pulled the chain around his neck again. The girl's gaze suddenly sharpened toward her master. You could feel the shift in her presence, like her whole aura changed as she tightly gripped the chain wrapped around Yuanzi's neck. Then the first disciple stood up and mockingly said, "Master, it was so easy for me to put this collar on your neck. You didn't even put up a fight. If you think about it, with the power you possess, you should have been able to remove this without breaking a sweat. Could it be that the rumors going around are actually true? That your power master can no longer match up to your disciples? Is it true that your disciple is now stronger than you, master?" When Yuanzi heard this, he slowly raised one hand near his face. His body went pale and started trembling. He didn't expect his first disciple to discover this quickly, the situation he'd been hiding for so long. While he stared at the girl, the first disciple spoke again with a cold voice, asking why he wasn't using his spell magic to remove the collar attached to his neck. At those words, Yuanzi's eyes widened even more. His face grew even paler and cold sweat started dripping down. He could feel the fear slowly wrapping around him. He never thought the first disciple had completely figured out his true condition. The first disciple suddenly moved closer to his face, looking like she'd lost her damn mind. She slowly laughed while staring sharply into his eyes. The girl said, "Master, why don't you just come with me and become my pet for life? That way I can take proper care of you. Don't worry, I'll be good to you and treat you like my real pet, master." At those words, Yuanzi's eyes widened even more from the anxiety he was feeling. In his mind, he kept wondering if his first disciple actually knew everything she was saying. If not, he needed to find a way to escape from her clutches. When he couldn't take it anymore, he suddenly looked behind his first disciple and pretended like he saw something terrifying in the distance. His face drenched in sweat as he pointed behind the girl and shouted, "Hoshino Arashi, why are you here? What are you doing here at this time of night?" Because of what he said, the first disciple quickly turned around to look behind her. In her mind, she irritably questioned herself about what Arashi was doing at such a late hour. While the girl had her back turned, the first disciple smiled and put on a little act. He pressed his two hands together and said, "Arashi, don't be mad yet. Just hear me out first." But while he was saying that, Yuanzi was slowly escaping away from her. He didn't think he'd be able to fool his first disciple that easily. But when the first disciple opened her eyes again, there was no one in front of her. And definitely no Arashi. Because of this, she felt intense anger at her master's deception. She quickly turned around, her eyes slowly darkening from the rage she was feeling. Meanwhile, as Yuanzi ran out as fast as he could, his mind kept racing about how he could escape from his first disciple. When he had no other choice left, he quickly grabbed the magic potion he'd bought a long time ago. He said in his mind that he was in a dangerous situation and had no other options. As he continued running, he felt anxious about what might happen to him the moment he drank the magic potion. He asked himself if this was really the time to use the bottle he was holding. While catching his breath, he thought even harder about what he was going to do. He kept asking himself if this was the right moment. And then he remembered again what the beautiful woman selling magic potions had told him. According to her, once he drank the potion, it would be extremely difficult to return to his original form. So before drinking it, he needed to think carefully about the decision he was making. But unexpectedly, his first disciple suddenly appeared from behind him. She forcefully stabbed her sword into the ground, her face flushed red as she spoke. "Where do you think you're going, master? Do you really think you can escape from me tonight? Don't even bother trying, because no matter where you go, I will follow and follow you, my dear master." When Yuanzi heard that, he immediately felt intense anxiety. He couldn't use any magic spell to escape quickly. He was even more frustrated because he couldn't even do simple levitation to fly away. In an instant, the first disciple suddenly jumped forward to chase her master. Yuanzi was forced to run even faster, but he quickly noticed she was still catching up to him fast. In this situation, he didn't care anymore about what might happen to him. In one moment, he quickly chugged the magic potion and drank everything in the bottle. While doing this, he told himself he didn't care about the consequences anymore. All he wanted was to stay alive and free. After drinking the magic potion, his vision suddenly went dark. He couldn't understand the sudden feeling flowing through his body as he continued running, completely confused about what was happening to him. He suddenly threw up, and a massive amount of liquid came out of his mouth. He clutched his mouth while in his mind, one thing was crystal clear. Something bad was happening to his body. He clutched his chest. In the vomit on the ground, he could clearly see the reflection of his face, filled with pain and struggling to breathe. In his mind, he weakly whispered that something was wrong with what was happening. What he was feeling wasn't right. There was pain in his body that he couldn't explain. The magic potion felt incredibly hot, like it was melting his entire body from the inside. While feeling the intense pain, a magic circle suddenly glowed from his stomach. His feet and hands started glowing, and his body slowly began to shrink. Even his chest changed, as if his physical form was completely transforming. In an instant, Yuanzi collapsed to the ground. When the light faded, he was now a young girl with long hair. His entire body was trembling from the process he'd just gone through. In his mind, he kept repeating that what happened wasn't right. He didn't expect this to be the result of what he thought would be a simple transformation. Meanwhile, his first disciple had caught up to him. She stood in front of him, full of confusion and doubt, while staring sharply at the child lying on the ground. She couldn't understand why a child suddenly appeared in the exact spot where her master had been just moments ago. The first disciple slowly moved her foot close to Yuanzi's cheek and gently tilted the head sideways to see the child's full appearance. While staring at Yuanzi still lying on the ground, clearly weakened, she couldn't help but ask herself if this child resembled her master. The first disciple was slightly confused. She slowly examined Yuanzi's body with the tip of her foot, as if trying to confirm her suspicion. She wondered why the body felt different somehow. In her mind, she was trying hard to understand if this was really her master, because just moments ago she was facing him before he suddenly disappeared, and was replaced by the child now in front of her. Meanwhile, Yuanzi slowly opened his eyes. He continued to feel the presence of his first disciple while remaining on the ground, weak and completely confused about the new form he was in. In the dead of night, at Yuanzi's castle, you can see this absolutely massive moon glowing blood red in the sky. Inside the kingdom, in this huge, silent room, you can't hear a single sound, not even a peep. In the middle of the room, on this massive bed, Yuanzi's lying there slowly opening his eyes. He raises his hand to his head and feels how heavy his whole body is, probably side effects from that magic potion he chugged earlier. Next to him, his first disciple is knocked out cold, sleeping peacefully and clinging to him like her life depends on it. Yuanzi slowly rubs his eyes, asking himself what the hell happened and why he feels so weird. Because of this unexplainable sensation, he looks down at his hands and immediately freezes. His hands just shrunk. Like, significantly. He slowly sits up and glances around the room, searching for a mirror so he can see what's going on with himself. When he catches his reflection, he touches his cheek. His gaze drops, and you can see the absolute confusion written all over his face. In his mind, he's genuinely asking himself who this cute girl staring back at him in the mirror is. After a few moments of processing, he goes pale. He starts feeling up his entire body, and that's when he realizes how unnaturally soft everything is. His muscles that he worked so hard for? Gone. Vanished. He's freaking out now, and the weird feeling just keeps getting worse. A moment later, he looks down at the lower part of his body, and for reasons he can't even explain, his face goes even paler. He has no idea how to process what he's feeling right now. In the next instant, he starts crying at the realization. His once absolutely jacked body has been completely replaced, and now he's a cute girl. He keeps asking himself over and over why this happened, especially since the potion he drank was supposed to change his appearance based on what he was thinking and wanting. Because of this, he's even more confused and worried about why this was the result. He quickly turns to his first disciple, Nessie, who up until now is still sleeping like a rock. Beside him, Nessie has absolutely no clue that her master Yuanzi has woken up. She's still sleeping peacefully, and the only sound in the entire room is her soft breathing. Then, Yuanzi's eyes go wide as he realizes that on the night he passed out, Nessie probably grabbed him and dragged him to her own room. He slowly creeps toward the edge of the bed and covers his mouth, desperately trying not to make even the slightest sound. In his mind, he's in a seriously dangerous situation right now. His first disciple might absolutely lose it seeing him like this, and at the moment he can't use any of his powers. He has no choice but to escape while Nessie's still sleeping soundly. As he's carefully walking away from his first disciple who's still knocked out, he accidentally makes a tiny bit of noise when his foot hits the floor. Because of this, Nessie slowly starts waking up. She gradually opens her eyes and spots Yuanzi trying to sneak away. In an instant, Yuanzi doesn't notice there's a leash attached to his neck. Because of this, he suddenly freezes and gets yanked down helplessly, crashing to the floor after Nessie pulls the chain that's binding him. As Nessie slowly lowers one foot down, Yuanzi's body is trembling, feeling absolute fear because his first disciple is now fully awake. Nessie sits up properly while still gripping the chain attached to Yuanzi's neck tightly. Annoyed, she asks him what the hell he's doing. She says, "Where do you think you're going? I worked so hard carrying you all the way to my room, and now you're just gonna leave? Is this how you thank someone who helped you?" A moment later, Nessie's expression suddenly changes as she speaks again. "Don't you have anything else to say to me, Riceball?" When Yuanzi hears that, he's shocked as to why Nessie suddenly called him by that name. Confused, he grabs the chain attached to his neck while wondering what his first disciple means and why she's calling him Riceball. A moment later, Yuanzi feels annoyance bubbling up and can't hold himself back anymore. He forcefully yanks the chain on his neck, which catches Nessie off guard and quickly pulls her closer. Yuanzi is absolutely furious and leans close to Nessie's ear while scolding her. He says, "Is this how your master raised you? Where's your respect for other people? Is this what your master taught you?" Because of what Yuanzi said, Nessie is shocked. She wasn't expecting this girl with her to have the audacity to call her out and scold her like that. In the next scene, Yuanzi repeatedly smacks Nessie, who can barely defend herself while he's going off on her. Yuanzi says, "After you rescue some girl from wherever, you just suddenly bring her to your room and put a dog collar on her neck? What do you think I am, a dog? So accept your punishment." Nessie can't do anything but cry from the shock and the pain she's feeling. A moment later, Nessie can't hold herself back anymore and screams while crying. She says, "Riceball, I'm not messing with you. Calm down. I haven't done anything bad to you." Then, Nessie suddenly looks at Yuanzi. There are tears in her eyes and her cheeks are flushed red as she yells that the reason she's calling him Riceball is because that's what he wrote on the potion bottle, isn't it? Nessie adds that she brought him to her room because she was worried he might suddenly run off again in the middle of the night. When Yuanzi hears the word potion, he suddenly stops and looks at Nessie, who's still crying like an absolute child. A moment later, Yuanzi remembers what was written on the magic potion bottle. On the side of it was the word rice, and that's when he realizes Nessie probably mistook what he wrote as Riceball being his name. Because of these realizations, Yuanzi's eyes suddenly sharpen and he thinks of a wild plan. Nessie hasn't figured out his true identity yet. He mutters to himself, "If that's the case, she didn't see my transformation, which means she genuinely doesn't recognize me." Then, Nessie's acting like a sulking child while her body trembles. In an instant, she suddenly asks Yuanzi why she's being called a traitor with no manners toward other people. Because of that question, Yuanzi gets nervous again. After just a few moments, Nessie quickly stands up and forcefully pulls Yuanzi's cheek. Yuanzi almost cries from the pain he feels. Nessie says, "Don't you dare mention my master's name. He's the only legendary hero in this country. He's the incarnation of the archangel and worshipped by everyone in this place." After saying that, Nessie pushes Yuanzi so he falls to the floor. Nessie says again that a lowly creature like him can't even compare to someone like her master. So watch what comes out of your mouth, especially when it's about my master. While Nessie glares menacingly at Yuanzi, she furiously asks who he is to call her a traitor. "Are you seriously trying to disrespect my master?" Because of what she said, Yuanzi feels anxious. Even though his cheek still hurts, he forces himself to raise both hands to stop Nessie. Even though he's struggling, he tries to answer, "It's not like that. Honestly, we don't even know each other. I just want to know why you brought me to this place, especially since we've never even met before." But in Yuanzi's mind, he's secretly smiling and feeling grateful that his first disciple still hasn't recognized him. Despite what he said, Nessie still isn't backing down. Her expression changes again as she says, "You know, your body is incredibly small, and that kind of body is usually cursed by the world." Yuanzi's confused about what his first disciple means, especially this talk about small bodies and curses from the world. Nessie slowly leans close to Yuanzi's ear and whispers, "Since I rescued you and brought you to my room, I'm gonna charge you. We're gonna have payment for the kindness I did for you. From now on, you'll spend your entire life in this place, with me. Because of those words, Yuanzi's face suddenly goes pale, and he can't help but ask why Nessie would want him to stay with her for life. A moment later, when Yuanzi gathers some courage, he forcefully pushes Nessie's arm away and yells that he refuses. He won't stay here with her. Then, even though his body is trembling, he still points at Nessie while speaking. Stop with what you're saying. You're just trying to deceive me, pretending my body is cursed by the world, but the truth is, you just want to make me your slave. Even if that happens, I will never follow any of your whims. Meanwhile, in another part of the kingdom at the same time, Yuanzi's second disciple is walking briskly on the red carpet, while her assistant rushes to keep up with her. While she walks straight and elegantly, the assistant continues reporting about what's happening in the kingdom. She says, "My lady, the entire Knights Templar is sweeping through the whole kingdom, including the neighboring towns. But until now, they still haven't found even a trace of Lord Yuanzi." Because of this, the second disciple, Arashi, feels annoyed. She turns to her assistant and coldly asks, "Is that all you can tell me? When my sister and I split up the other day, did she just stay here inside the palace?" The assistant adjusts her glasses while somewhat flustered in answering. "Miss Nessie hasn't left the palace since you arrived. On top of that, security inside the palace has been tightened even more, so there's no way for her to leave." Because of what she heard, Arashi wonders to herself if her sister Nessie truly hasn't left the palace. She recalls her sister's reaction when they talked while bathing in the swimming pool. She thinks about why Nessie seemed so calm, even though she knew their master was missing. When she realizes this, Arashi holds her chin and thinks deeply. Could it be possible that Nessie already found a clue about where Master is, and she's just deliberately not telling me? As suspicions slowly connect in her mind, she suddenly sits on a stone chair and raises her hand while ordering her assistant. "Send our knights to Nessie's location. They shouldn't act suspicious. All they need to do is observe her movements and find out what she's doing." When she hears that, the assistant quickly nods and immediately leaves to follow the order. After that, Arashi frowns slightly while talking to herself. "Nessie, what are you plotting? I won't let you succeed. Whatever secret you're hiding from me, I will find out, one way or another."